Good morning. Welcome to this on the air session. This is something new to me. Haven't worked in broadcasting. I guess this is not really broadcasting, but I haven't worked in broadcasting for many years. I did work in radio and TV news reporting. I was a writer, but they wouldn't let me on the air because they told me I sounded too much like a hillbilly. So I wrote the news in the background and announcers read it, but boy, here I am, and you've got to listen to me or go somewhere else, and I hope you'll stay for just a little while. I'm not going to preach a sermon. It won't be 30 minutes, so you don't have to worry about that, but I do want to say a few things this morning. We're glad to be home with Darlene. She's home, doing relatively well, I think. Can't walk very well yet, but we've got a new ramp coming up onto our back porch, and I can wheel her up and down that in the wheelchair and get her in and out of the house, and it's working well, and we're going to make it okay. She had a doctor visit yesterday with her primary care physician and was told that as much as anything else, she needs patience. The Lord's going to have to help her with that. But the doctor said she needed to be patient, that it would take a while to heal, and we've been told that before. And then the doctor looked at me and said that we needed to go home and stay there. She said that elderly people, and again she looked at me because there were no elderly people around, I guess, and said that she meant for us to go home and stay there, and she said, "I'm serious about this, you need to do that." Well, we're trying to do that, and I guess a lot of you are having to do that as well. Israel was in trouble a long time ago because they were being chased by the army of Pharaoh, the Egyptian army. They were trapped between that army and the Red Sea. They'd been living in Egypt for 400 years. They had been slaves for a part of that while, and God had delivered them mightily from Pharaoh's hand. But now they're trapped between the army and the sea, and there doesn't seem to be any way out. But God delivered them mightily by splitting the waters of the Red Sea and letting them pass through on dry land. And as you're aware, the Egyptian army perished when the waters came back together. Tremendous blessing of God, but it's 3 days later now, and they're traveling on toward the promised land, and this time, instead of having to worry about the water being deep and dangerous, they were worried because they had no water, no potable water to drink. And they complained against Moses, their leader. And he sought God's mind, and God told him to cut down a tree and throw it into the spring of water. And Moses did, and the water was okay after that point. And then they went on from that place to Elim and found an oasis there with 70 palm trees and 12 wells of water. Now think with me this morning. We've been through the sea before. And as God helped the children of Israel through the Red Sea, He has helped us out of our troubled waters as well. But we've got bitter waters again. Today we're dealing with the coronavirus. Our economy, in some ways, is bad. There are even shortages in the grocery stores and other stores as well. And you can't discuss this without mentioning toilet paper, for goodness sakes. People are complaining and fussing and fighting over items in the stores. And we need to do like the children of Israel did when they were caught between Egyptian soldiers and the waters of the Red Sea. And we need to turn to God, for it is He who healeth us. Moses sang a song after they'd been delivered from Pharaoh's army, and in it he used that line. He quoted God as saying, actually, that I am the Lord that healeth thee. Today he's the same God, and he can heal us of our sicknesses, including broken bones and back trouble and anxieties and other ailments. And he also can heal us of our economic worries. There are those who've lost a small fortune or maybe a large fortune in the stock market in recent days. It's tanked because, partially at least, of the coronavirus. But our physician can take care of that as well, and unrest of all kinds that we see out there. In Psalm 103, it says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that's within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all of his benefits." Now notice, who forgiveth all thine iniquities, who healeth all thy diseases, who redeemeth thy life from destruction, who crowneth thee with loving kindness and tender mercies, who satisfieth thy mouth with good things, so that thy youth is renewed like the eagles. He is the same God now that he was back then. And he can heal our diseases today. He is in control, and he's the God that heals us. Darlene mentioned that there's a song that's running through her mind in recent days. It's the song, "Jesus is Coming Soon," and the lines that keep running through her head are, "Troublesome times are here." I had to admit when she told me that I'd been thinking the same song. I grew up in troublesome times. When I was a kid, a teenager, we were in the middle of the Cold War. And we weren't sure, actually, that we weren't going to be bombed at some point. And that's not a good circumstance for youngsters to grow up in. I remember one day at the Easyville store visiting with a friend, Bud Hayward, who was about my age, and we lived together, and close together, not together. We lived close together. Went to school together, went to church together. We're friends. He's the twin brother, actually, of Bonnie Williams. And Bud told me that morning he'd seen a big plane fly over way high. Didn't know what it was, but it was a big plane. And he said, "I looked for the bombs to start rolling at any time." That's no way to live, but that's the way we grew up. And before that, I can remember the times when Mom would hang blankets over the windows at night because the government had called for a blackout. It was during the time of the Second World War. And God delivered us through those Red Seas, and he can do it again. For he is the God that healeth us. Trust, have faith, but do be sensible and be careful, and in the midst of this troubled time, act like a Christian. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee, and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee, and give thee peace.